big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. This new year, get clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list, including Ritual's best-selling Essential Prenatal Multivitamin, designed with 12 traceable key ingredients to support a healthy pregnancy. With big changes coming up, take the small steps now and start today with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Unknown submarine contact in the vital area. Away the Nixie team away. Away the Nixie team away. Set general quarters. Set general quarters. General quarters, all hands, ready by the station. General quarters, all hands, ready by the station.
Okay, I think we're all adjusted now.
Hang on. Okay.
Oh, boy. Things have gotten complicated around here. To the point where I was so busy doing stuff that I didn't even get to do the show intro. How terrible is that?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, and the answer is really terrible.
No, it's not that terrible.
No, not really.
No, not really. Not that terrible.
Because I was supposed to say something similar to tonight, Clint and BZ tear through the gristle of today's screaming headlines and rip out the sinewy tendons of truth ensconced within, all from the hoary streets of Sacramento, Fornicalia, exposing the trembling toadies, the sniveling jackanapes, and the fripperous fopdoodles, which you insisted that I put in there.
I insisted fopdoodles be in there.
That's right, fripperous fopdoodles, infesting leftist and progressive brain housing groups nationally. So,
you word it so nicely because I just say, listen, we're going to sift through the bullshit
we're up to
and
speed
talk about some serious stuff.
Oh, by the way, let's see. You said you may not remember, but you challenged me one time.
Just once?
Yeah, right. About 4 months ago, I think
did.
It might have been.
It took you 4 months to rise to the occasion?
You said,
get
a copy of The Coming Insurrection, and by the way, if you order this thing, somehow it seems you'll trigger people monitoring you.
I didn't order it online. I bought mine at a local bookstore, and I paid cash.
No, you said that I need to read it, but B, you said you've read it, but you didn't order it online.
I did not order it online.
For that express same reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's...
You apparently ordered it online.
There's my copy.
Did you read it?
And I ordered it online. So I brought it, but... Folks, we're not going to get into this tonight. I'm going to leave it on the desk, though, because we do need to get into it. Did
you read it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I think we should get into it tonight, BZ. I think that dovetails into this Vox article that we're going to discuss.
Okay, all right. Now, I was just going to bring that up. Folks, all right, things have changed at SHR, and they're going to change again. We lost some people. We lost HP Pundit. He's no longer going to be associated with SHR. Dan Butcher's kind of going out on his own. And that's okay because conversely, right around this time, we decided that we were sitting down and deciding what we're going to do with Sackheads. And we're moving forward, and that's about enough out of that. However, That having been said, one of the things that has been occurring around here is we are now associated with more things than just, if you want to find us now, you can find us. We're damn near endemic, okay? You can find us on Spreaker. If you want to listen and get into the chat room, you can listen and chat at Spreaker. And as a matter of fact, maybe I should go over there right now and look to see what we have. We got a bunch of people in the chat room already. Welcome to Mike. Welcome to Fred. Welcome to Whiskey Dale Simone. And welcome to Mary Brockman. So good to see everybody there. But we may be moving the chat room because we're finding that we're on so many platforms now. We're trying to do the analytics to determine, okay, where do we get more eyeballs? Where do we get more visits? Because now, hey, folks, like I said, you can listen to us on Spreaker. We're currently in negotiations or filling in the forms or submitting whatever the hell you have to do to submit things for iTunes. Now, iTunes is audio only, just like Spreaker is audio only. But if we can find that we can get into iTunes, then we can get all the Apple minions over into SHR and listen to us, listen to the Saloon, listen to Jeff Dunnitz and Melanie and everybody else that's on SHR. And, the Apple universe is big.
It's bigger than the Marvel universe.
It could be. It very well could be. I mean, didn't Apple recently hit roughly $1 trillion worth? One of the first companies, if not the first, that hit a worth of roughly $1 trillion, which is staggering. I mean,
how many zeros is that?
That's more than
how many zeros?
Let's see, millions.
12?
Millions is 9 zeros, and when you're getting into billions
would be 12. So 15.
That's a lot of zeros.
15 zeros.
That's a lot of damn zeros. That's all I can tell you. Because obviously I do not major in mathematics. Okay, but the deal was Facebook for a while decided that it wasn't going to shake hands with Spreaker anymore. So we disavowed ourselves of putting the video up on Facebook until
not only that,
Sackhead Sean found out that, okay, if I do this little workaround and now Facebook is talking nicely to Spreaker, and now, okay, what I'm getting to is the reason we were late is because whoever sits in this chair now has to activate 4 things. You want to activate them concurrently, but you can't. So what I do is I start YouTube, then I start Facebook, then I start Periscope, then I go to Spreaker and I start Spreaker. And if we're on iTunes, I'm going to have to start iTunes. So I don't know of any way to start all of those things simultaneously.
Okay, so here's what really happened. We were bullshitting.
While Sackhead Sean, hey, if you're going to bring up the truth, I'll bring up the truth too. Sackhead Sean came in here.
He came by,
and he was bullshitting.
And then at 30 seconds till, Sackhead Sean slammed the door and said, "Get your asses to work. You're going to be on the air." And he shattered the glass in the door that separates the studio
from the little walkway that we have over here, where you can go to the bathroom,
and shattered the glass.
Yeah, and he's shattered our lives before,
and my heart is shattered as well. He might have fired us, BZ, which I don't know how he can do that, but he did it.
That's true. Now, Fred in chat said, and at one time I would have agreed with him. Fred says, and BZ is as dumb as a box of rocks on technology. Now, Fred,
that's Clint.
That's in this studio.
Yeah,
that's Clint, because I am schooling myself up on technology, and the guy that edits and creates the promos around here, that's the fat dude, along with my wife. So it's not Sackhead Sean anymore. It's BZ that creates the promos. Just thought I'd tell you. I know who it isn't.
It's not me.
It's not you.
It's not me.
It's not you.
You don't want it to be me.
Yeah, that's true. You really don't want it to be you.
Because even if I knew how to do this, like, we would be so... oh my gosh, people would be up in arms.
Yeah. So anyway, it looks like we're going to get another platform. I don't know how it works. Sackhead Sean is handling the behind-the-scenes stuff. We're going to do some new things on social media. We might do some new things in terms of background. Mary Brockman says, BZ, you still need Sean. Oh, hell yeah. Listen, you're looking at 50% of the ownership. Sean and Clint. And that's, let's see, that would be, that's Clint right over there.
Yep.
That's
Yep,
Clint. No,
that's me.
So Sackhead Sean and Clint right here.
Yeah.
They are the owners, okay? So I'm not an owner.
Yet.
So
We're working on that.
So we do, when Mary Brockman says, BZ, you still need Sean. Well, hell yeah, we need Sean. He's a 50% owner of this thing. It's Sean and Clint.
But this is why we want to bring BZ in, so that way we don't need Sean anymore. Fuck him. We can vote him off the island. I'm kidding.
Fred in chat says you can do this, BZ. I remember when blogs were a challenge. And that's true. That's true. When I was on Blogspot or Blogger.
Oh, I remember Blogspot.
Yeah, I started a blog there, and who the hell knows anything about HTML? And I had another guy that was the sort of the tech guru god thing. Beantown Billy just stepped in. I love saying that, by the way, in that fashion.
That was
when
nice.
Beantown Billy comes in, I like to say Beantown Billy. So welcome to Beantown Billy. So I did have a blog, and Fred, I got to admit, Fred helped me with the blog. God bless you, sir. Thank you. Beantown Billy. And another guy named Robert helped us with the blog. But eventually I kind of got the HTML thing. So I know how to make my blog run. I run the SHR Media blog. I got to get in there and we got to figure out, we either need a new web designer or something like that. We got to update the links and whatnot. But when we put new posts in, I put in the new posts to SHR and mine. So I'm learning. Give me a time. Beantown Billy. Give me time and we'll be able to. Anyway, the bottom line is this. We're going to change like everybody else changes. And at my advanced age, I don't like change. I like Beantown Billy, but I do have to embrace change. And SHR Media is going to be changing. We have to change with the times. Our site is going to be changing. There might be some meshing of a few things. There might be some time slot changes. I know of, I think 2 editions are going to be coming in the not too terribly distant future. 2 new shows with new people. And so change is coming. Change is good. I'm not a massive advocate of change, but there it is. I have to roll with the times, or you get steamrolled. And I don't want to get steamrolled.
No, and speaking of changing with the times, a lot of folks are changing with the times. One such organization is Nabisco.
Oh, you're right.
One of the times that they're changing is they have freed the animals in their animal crackers.
Thank God. Don't you suspect? Wasn't that overdue?
Look, I remember being sad as a child, and I would get a box of Nabisco animal crackers, and seeing those poor, defenseless, helpless circus animals on that little red box that looked like a tiny wagon. And
that's right. It did look like a wagon.
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
the sad faces that were painted on those animals as they just wasted away to nothing in those sad little cartoon cages that they were drawn in.
And by the way, did you remember that in that box that looks like the little cage? There are actual bars. There are vertical bars on that box.
Drawn on the box.
They were caged, folks. They were caged.
And not only that, but what really disturbed me the most is you'd open the box up expecting to find delicious crackers or cookies.
Uh-oh. And
inside would be animals crammed together in horrific conditions.
My God.
There was no space for them to use the little cracker potty
God, you're
to
right.
breathe fresh cookie air. They were all just kind of crammed in, and some were broken, clearly neglected.
Oh, God, I remember. You're right. I used to open up a box of animal crackers because your mom would always give you animal crackers, and you'd open up and tears would start falling down your cheek
because
when you realized
sad.
that some of the animals were missing their heads. and
Yeah.
had their legs broken off, their
Horrible.
heads and legs broken. Some were broken in two.
And I'll tell you what, BZ, I'm pretty sure it's that level of violence that has led people like you and I to be conservatives. Because
we don't
clearly,
we don't like to see that.
clearly we continued to eat the animal crackers knowing it was such a horrible, horrible environment for the little cookies. Well, Nabisco has solved this problem. Well, at least one part of the problem. I think their little cookie animals are still crammed together. So I'm gonna implore Nabisco to individually package.
Right, I know where you're going.
Individually package or individually display in an open environment each individual animal cracker, and to ensure that each animal cracker is treated fairly and equitably and is not abused and broken, because those animal cracker cookies are symbolic of real animals. And so now Nabisco has solved some of this problem thanks to PETA.
Yeah,
And they have removed the bars on their new packaging for animal crackers. The animals are free. They look happy. It's so beautiful and so amazing. But they still need to deal with the cookie issue on the inside of that package. BZ?
I'm wondering if one initial solution might be just to, well, make a bigger box so that they can roam and be free. They can be more free with more room and in a greater more capacious space where they're not like elbowed. They're not treated like veal. Okay,
I have a better idea.
Wouldn't that be better?
I have a better idea. Instead of animal crackers, let's call it botanical crackers. And instead of making the crackers be shaped like animals, because we don't want to eat animals, poor defenseless animals, but we could make like a cracker shaped like a bush or like a tree.
Or a Clinton.
No, different kind of bush, and not that other kind of bush either, because you're a perverted old man.
All right, listen, you were going. Do you see what we did there, folks? It was us, both of us.
But no, like we could have like a redwood tree and an elm tree and a hydrangea, however the hell you say, and an iris, and it'll be beautiful. That way, no animals are hurt, even figuratively, in the whole cookie eating experience. What do you think? I think that is a much better idea than individually packaging the animals.
Chrysanthemum, I like the name. Just chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum crackers
comes out of or hyacinth. I've always liked the word hyacinth. I really liked what you did there with hydrangea. I've always liked the word hydrangea.
It's fun to say.
It is fun to say. It's an assload of fun. It's like this. This is an assload. Well, wait a minute. Maybe it should be, is this an ass? Yeah, maybe that, if you're watching on the show.
What I want to know is, are animal crackers as racist as Cracker Jack? And here's why I say that. If you look at Cracker Jack, the packaging,
okay,
there's a guy named Jack, and he's on the front of the snack pack, and he's white.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the reason I say that, and the reason that you hear the timbre of my voice, like rising to a question, is because I was never a fan of Cracker Jack. I never ate Cracker Jack.
But look, it's offensive that you even call it Cracker Jack. Why is there a picture of a white guy on the front of that package named Jack, and you're calling him Cracker Jack? That is a problem. Could you imagine a snack pack with name your race on the front and having some other term for that particular snack using some sort of racist epitaph?
Now, see, well, wait a minute. Are you saying then that the whole problem with that is branding?
Well, what I'm saying is now we have animal crackers. Why do they have to be white animals? Because the cookies are light colored. So is Nabisco not only being hateful towards animals, but are they being secretly racist?
Okay. All right.
Hey, look, folks, the left can do it, so can we here at SHR.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Hey, I got to ask you this.
Sure.
Do we, meaning, not just you and me, but everybody else that's listening and watching.
The collective socialist we?
The collective socialist we.
Okay.
Are we Could we get regaled by a Clint story? Is there one? Or should I just, how about this? How about if I bring it up now, we go to another topic, and then you can check your wheelhouse and see if there's anything that may be applicable to a Clint story. Because I tell you this every week, I love your Clint stories. I just do. And everybody else does too.
I don't know.
Beatontown Billy likes your stories as well. I'm sorry. No, I'm not.
I'll reach back. I'll reach deep into the recesses
Okay.
of my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I know I'm going to have one next week. I know I'm going to have one. Well, yeah, I know I'm going to have one next time I see you.
Okay, but possibly the most important question is, yes, you do have stories, but there have been times when you've said, I got a story, but I can't tell everybody here on the radio.
And then I have to tell you at break.
Yeah, and then there's a caveat with that. And then what happens during the break is both Sackheads, Clint and I, we both laugh like bastards, have a great story, and then we don't tell you. That's sad.
But it's for to be fair, it is for your own protection,
for your own,
folks.
Because if we told you, then some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC batteries not included. No step. No leak to basement. Hashtag just saying. By the way, two ants were taking a nice leisurely stroll across the top of a Nabisco animal cracker box one day.
Okay, I'm with you.
And these two ants are walking across the top of this cereal box, and all of a sudden one of the ants just takes off. He starts running, and finally the second ant catches up to him and says, look, we were having a nice leisurely stroll across the top of the cereal box, and you took off running. What happened? Why'd you do that? And the first ant says, dummy, can't you read? It says tear across dotted line.
That's a dad joke. That's a dad joke.
By the way, did you ever have your dad do the thing where he removes his thumb?
Yes.
He shows it to you, and
Yes.
I can't do it, but my dad used to come up to me all the time, and especially when I was like 3, 4, 5, or whatever it was. He would do that, and then he wouldn't do it for at least a day. And for the rest of that day, I was bugging him constantly. Dad, do the thumb. Take off your thumb, Dad. That's so cool. Take off your thumb. Okay, just as last week was BMW radio.
Yes.
This is Stream of Consciousness.
Stream of Consciousness radio.
Radio.
That's not true. We got to a story.
Oh, we
framed it. So folks, that animal
stories.
cracker story is 100% true.
It is.
Look it up. Nabisco has freed their animal crackers.
Yep.
On the box, thanks to pressure from PETA. And in a very related story, the nanny state of the people of California, because they know better what's for your children. Free animal crackers. That's from Nabisco, courtesy of PETA. But the state of California,
You told me, by the way,
is
this is new to me.
Oh,
Folks, whatever you see in terms of a reaction here is I just learned of this about slightly before the show. So the actual details of this
and it was in passing.
This is completely new to me.
And it was in passing.
But if it's the state of California, you know that it's fucked up.
Yeah, so in the state of California, and it's passed. The governor is very likely to sign the bill. He has not signed the bill yet, so it's not law yet. However, any restaurant in the state of California, once this is signed into law, it will be illegal for that restaurant. And by the way, this is the state that in most jurisdiction, major cities, it is illegal for a waiter or waitress, a server, to hand you a plastic straw, or even to have a plastic straw. They have to be paper, and you have to ask for it. But the state of California has said, will say, as soon as the governor signs it into law, that it is illegal for a restaurant or a business establishment to serve or offer anything other than plain water or unflavored milk with any kids' meal.
Now, Okay, when you say kids meal, are you talking only at, say, franchisee restaurants?
Period.
Like McDonald's,
Period.
Burger King, just
Period.
everywhere. If you're out
at
a restaurant.
Yep. And you order a kids meal, and little Johnny wants a Sprite, because the only time he gets Sprite is when mommy and daddy take him out to eat in public once a month, couple times a month, but it is a treat. And the only time little Johnny gets a Sprite is when he gets to go out to eat. It's part of the fun. Like my kids. I don't keep soda at my house. The only time they get to order a Sprite, or they get to order a non-caffeinated, more sugary beverage, chocolate milk, once in a while I'll make it for them at home, pink lemonade, that kind of stuff, is when we are out.
Do you drink? Do your kids drink chocolate milk at home, or what's the other stuff like Bosco?
Oh yeah, no, I don't buy any of that stuff. I do regular chocolate milk, like a Hershey's Simple chocolate syrup, and organic milk for them. Is what they drink. And I actually use chocolate milk myself sometimes as like a recovery drink if I do a workout or something like that. It's actually pretty good for that. But my kids, they get their treat when we go out. So the state of California, because the state of California knows better than parents, says no. Restaurants cannot offer that option anymore. You can ask for it. It's off menu. And I'm guessing that restaurants may charge more for that.
So they're gonna be like your friendly neighborhood Chinese restaurant. You have to know, or In-N-Out Burger. You have to know what to order off the menu.
And look, so here's why this is important. And I can tell you. So I have another challenge for you if you haven't already read this book. And I have talked about this book for years. Sean and I brought it up on Sackheads several years ago, and we talked about it when Cass Sunstein was Obama's regulatory czar, and Samantha Powers, his wife, became ambassador to the U.S. But he wrote a book called Nudge. It's a yellow book. I think it's a picture of a little elephant on the front. Look it up right now, BZ, so you can tell our fine friends where to get it.
Okay.
But let me tell you, in essence, and I'm going to paraphrase this book, Nudge, and I want you to think about this if you haven't read it while we're talking about this story. And yes, I know we're up against the break. This is important. We started a couple minutes late, so we can go to break a couple minutes late.
That's right. That's what. Hey, it's our show.
It's our show. We do whatever the hell we want.
Exactly.
So Nudge, Cass Sunstein, basically says in his book Nudge, look, people in the United States are not going to typically stand for the outright banning of X. So if we want to change behavior, we can't outlaw things for the most part. What we have to do is frame choices to give the appearance that you have a choice, but really, no matter what you choose, is within what's acceptable to us, and within a generation, we're going to affect the change we want. And the example that was given, if my memory serves me, it's been a while since I've read the book, but I believe the example was French fries. And I'm not going to paraphrase the example he used, but I'm going to paraphrase the concept by saying this.
Okay.
And I say that because I don't remember the exact example he used, and I don't want to misrepresent the book. But I think it was something similar to what I'm about to say. If we don't want people ordering French fries because we think it's bad for them, we know better because Americans are stupid, then we pass a law saying that restaurants can no longer offer French fries with a hamburger, say. They can offer apples, wedges, or carrot sticks, but no French fries. French fries are still available to them. They can get them if they ask for them. But the option that's presented on the menu is apples and carrots. An overwhelming majority of the population will choose one of the options that's presented to them. For example, apples or carrots. A very small percentage, and I do not remember what that is, but a small percentage will actually order the off-menu item. And within a relatively short period of time, once people are used to ordering carrots and apples, when you do outlaw the French fries, there's no uproar. Folks, the state of California is about to do exactly that. They are about to nudge the behavior of free American citizens living in California, and that whole thing, I realized the irony there. Because they are going to frame the choices of you as a parent and take away your ability to treat your children, unless you're smart and you ask about it, or you pay $1 or $2 or whatever the establishment may end up charging you extra for ordering off menu. But the state of California is framing these choices for you because a majority of parents will pick one or the other.
I have something to say about that when we come back. And also, I went and purchased a used copy of that for $2.
Of Nudge?
Of Nudge.
Just now?
Just now.
Have you not read it?
I have not read it.
By Cass Sunstein, right? Was I right? Yellow cover?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's an elephant on it, a big elephant and a little elephant, and the big elephant is doing what to the little elephant?
Nudging the little elephant.
There you go.
Yep.
So that's exactly what happened. But I also want to tell people what's on the book, how he's typifying the book. And also, there are a few other platforms, some psychological platforms that are very, very similar. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. Folks, you're listening to Sackheads Clint and Sackheads BZ, live from the SHR Media Network studios. You're listening to the Sackheads Against Tyranny, a real chat show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Miller. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network, at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's because truth is not always present.
Hey guys, it's Special Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only, all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir. We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday night. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Immigration and Custom Enforcement Agency
the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
SHRmedia.com.
Police say Rivera confessed that on July 18th.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
By saying they did not use the federal E-Verify system to screen Rivera.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Coming in Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
No record. He has immigration status. Tonight, Rivera is being held on a $5 million bond.
The plan's working.
Matt Finn in Iowa tonight. Matt, thank you. More on the political fallout in coming days. Up next, another of then-candidate Trump's early supporters looking at serious legal trouble tonight.
We
we'll
talked
have
about
that story.
this
First, beyond our borders tonight, Russian President Vladimir Putin says U.S. economic sanctions against his country are counterproductive and senseless.
It's almost like
Putin spoke after talks with his counterpart from
It's
Finland.
amazing.
He described last month's Helsinki summit with President Trump as positive, but blamed the Trump administration for continuing to hit Russia
tyranny.
with...
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It took me that entire break to figure out who the loudmouth was on Fox News through the promo. I have about almost 30 tabs set up here for audio cuts. And sometimes these things, when you go to a website, they put them on autoplay. So you have to go in there, and I have to figure out in 3 minutes which tab is yelling at me. So, folks, that's why you heard a whole bunch of people talking, because I finally found out who the loudmouth was in all of the stories that we had here. You were talking about a book named Nudge.
I was.
And
written by Cass Sunstein.
And
everybody should know who that is.
He was
Obama's regulatory czar, wrote this book beforehand.
Okay. So again, tell people a little bit about what Nudge was, because I want to make a comparison after you typify it.
It's if I had to typify it, I would say it's framing choices within the confines of what's acceptable to the framer in order to provide an illusion of free choice.
Okay.
Is that a fair summary?
That would be a truthful summary of what that means. But I wanted to make this interjection because having gone to Amazon and purchased a used copy for about $2 or so, the book itself says, and this is in the title itself, because we just told you what it really does. But now Richard Thaler says, improving decisions about health, wealth, and happiness. Now, in that subtitle, was there anything in there about we're crafting ways to make you further left?
If you read into it, or I wouldn't even say to make you further left, I would say crafting ways to control your choices. I wouldn't even say it's pushing people to the left, because it doesn't really address politics. It targets behavior and changing behavior to be what you want it to be. And so when I hear that improving choices, well, improving it by whose standards? Well, clearly improving it by the author's standards. Because if there's a parent out there that thinks that kids should be able to have a treat or drink soda 10 times a day, which I don't, but I'm a libertarian, little L, and believe that a parent has that right as a parent, and they do. That they may think that improving choices for their kids means I can take them out to eat 3 times a week instead of once a month or twice a month or whatever it is. And so I'm going to improve choices for my child because I want them to be happy and enjoy soda and like me a lot. So clearly within that little subtitle, from my perspective, but maybe it's just because I like to read into things, go figure, from my perspective, it is improving choices based upon the author's opinion of what is proper.
Right, but not necessarily of what you think is proper.
Exactly.
Or what I think is proper.
Correct.
Now, does this sound, and that's where I'm going now, does this sound to you anything like Rules for Radicals?
Hand in hand, right? It's Rules for Radicals, I think, is how to affect political change.
Right.
I think I view
by being a community organizer.
Correct. Yeah. It's all interconnected, right?
Yeah. Does this? Let me throw one other thing in there as well. Does this sound anything remotely like the Cloward-Piven theory?
The way they do things.
The
Cloward-Piven. Yeah. Look, I think that if you.
It's called the Cloward-Piven strategy.
Yeah, I think if you take all of those things together, and look, if you start reading these books, and even the Coming Insurrection, and you take you understand the lessons that are in that book or what they're saying, and folks, this is their words. Nudge is not a conservative book. At all.
No.
Neither is the Coming Insurrection. But if you read their words and you understand the concepts, and you take it all and you tie it all together, because I think it all feeds off each other, particularly as you're gaining kind of a global perspective, and not global perspective in the left wing sense, but a global perspective, meaning you're taking a look at all of the facts as they are, all of the events we're seeing, and the struggle that's within our country right now politically between left and right, and particularly with what's happening on the left, and what Obama did throughout his administration, and you look at what is written in these books and who Obama had in certain places, I think it paints a very clear picture of exactly what they're doing. And there are people out there that are going to think that's great, and that's fine. There are going to be people out there that say, wow, I had no idea. And there's going to be people out there that says, well, that's exactly what I thought was going on, and kind of here's the proof. But it's in terms of just understanding it. Yeah, I think you need to take all of those things together. And there's another bill that I want to talk about while we're on the California's crazy train right now, and it kind of plays into what we're talking about, but from a little bit different perspective, and that's Assembly Bill 2943. Assembly Bill 2943 is authored by Evan Lowe. He's a Democrat, of course, and he wants to utilize California's existing consumer fraud statute in order to classify gay conversion therapy as a fraudulent practice. And another fellow Democrat Assembly member, Al Miritsuchi, said, and I'm going to quote this is what he said during the debate on this legislation, quote, "The faith community, like anyone else, needs to evolve with the times. The science is clear. The claim that the First Amendment can be used as a defense for promoting fraudulent conduct is a fallacious argument." That should scare everybody, not only of faith, but that should scare every citizen in the state of California. And the fact that this is happening in America, this should scare every citizen throughout the country. He says the claim that the First Amendment can be used as a defense for promoting fraudulent conduct is a fallacious argument. Now, let's be clear what they're talking about. They're talking about gay conversion therapy and any ties to that. So faith-based counselors can't discuss it. Books that they sell or pay for can't discuss it. You can't talk about sex being between a man and a woman. You can't have the biblical view of sex. And if the wording of the law is taken word for word, if you're looking at letter of the law
versus the spirit of the law, right?
Technically, the Bible could apply to what is in this bill in terms of establishments being able to sell that. Now, what they say is, obviously, it's not going to outlaw the Bible, right? But it will outlaw the sale of certain other books that talk about strategies. Hang on a second. It will outlaw other books that outline strategies for Christians who are conflicted with either gender identity issues or feelings of homosexuality, those that seek their pastors out in order to discuss Christian-based strategies to deal with these feelings and emotions, completely takes that away. Because they're saying that churches, if you have a biblical view of sexual relations, and look, I'm a libertarian, little L. What a man and woman do in their bedroom behind closed doors and their relationship is none of my business. Man and woman, man, woman, woman. Okay, I have personal feelings on it. I have my own faith-driven feelings on that. However, I don't judge anybody because that's not my place. I don't judge anybody for the personal decisions that they make. I wouldn't not be friends with somebody. I wouldn't wish them ill will. None of that. But that being said, if you take a strictly biblical view of these relationships, the state of California is saying that is wrong. And not only is that wrong, but the First Amendment doesn't protect you because in their view, it's wrong and the science is clear.
Okay, let's stop there just for a second. We're gonna go laterally here just a bit. The first reference that passed through my brainulus was, what were you just talking about 2 minutes before this article? Nudge?
Yeah. Nudging behavior.
Okay, so would it not be logical to conclude that this is a little bit more than a nudge, but it's in a continuing pattern or series committed by the state of California to ensure that you think, act, and speak in only one fashion?
Of course.
Period. End of statement. So it's more than a nudge. And the other portion of that is, because my brain just automatically went there, is, well, that's not going to stand because the Supreme Court would... Wait a minute. Okay. It's 2018.
Yep.
And likely, my guess would be, is we are going to have Kavanaugh confirmed. Now, because of all the stuff with Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort, naturally the Democrats, leftists, and the American media maggots have said, oh, wait. We can't have these confirmation hearings for Kavanaugh, which were supposed to start September 3rd, by the way. We got to put the brakes on those because this shit now is way too important. And you don't want to confuse us, translated. We don't want to confuse the people that have sacks of rock salt in their brains.
Yep.
But this is how tenuous this stuff is right now, folks, ladies and gentlemen of America. You have California making these decisions. Now, the Ninth Circus will probably, and there are still a couple of spots to fill in the Ninth Circuit. And just to let everybody know, Trump and McConnell have made great inroads on filling judges and appointments under the lower courts because frequently they can be every bit as important as SCOTUS. But this is, again, one of those things where if we, conservatives, libertarians, lose control of SCOTUS, then anything that occurs in the state of California is going to get rubber stamped from D.C. Right now, it's not going to be rubber stamped. Well, for the cake baker in Colorado, my guess is that ate up potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars of that guy, and he's getting sued again from the Colorado Human Rights Commission, though he won his SCOTUS case.
Yep.
So these leftist fucktards are going to do nothing, clearly, with regard to the cake baker, is they'll say that the newest thing is he didn't like transsexuals. Then they're going to bring in someone that screws animals, and he won't bake a cake for them. You see the litany that's coming over that.
Yeah.
But the deal is, though, if we lose SCOTUS, any weird-ass crap that comes out of California is going to get rubber stamped by the Ninth, and is going to go to SCOTUS and will get rubber stamped by Kagan and Ginsburg and all those other leftists who don't even like the U.S. Constitution, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg was said. Europe, if you're creating a new constitution, you need to look everywhere except the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah.
And that's a sitting jurist telling people in an interview what she thinks of the document that she's sworn to uphold.
How is her ass not impeached right now? for saying that.
Well, I can make an excellent. That's again that dovetails into Kavanaugh. It's like the Ginsburg rule. The Ginsburg rule was, well, I can't talk about cases. There are so many variables in cases that come before me. I can't tell you exactly how I'm going to rule on X, Y, and Z because there are so many variables, and we take each case based on its single merit. Well, she could get away with it. Why can't Kavanaugh?
Yeah.
Because all the people now on the left are saying, well, the Ginsburg rule doesn't apply now. We want to know. We know that Kavanaugh guy is going to completely eradicate.
They were looking at
Roe
his
versus Wade.
They were looking at his basketball writings from when he was in college.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
The Library of Congress gave them 1 million documents. They wanted 3 million documents, if for no other reason than to slow down the confirmation. And now they're saying leftists are saying they want to sue the Library of Congress because they're not going to go out of their way to give them another 3 million documents. Or 2 million documents, making it a total of 3 million documents.
Yeah. Go sue away, jackasses. But so here's the scary part about this. The other scary part about this California law, this assembly bill, that will probably be signed into law as well when it passes by the governor. I'm guessing. But because
Newsom. Oh, if he were in there,
he will. I think Jerry Brown will sign it too. But here's the thing: it applies to commerce, right? To consumers, because I think it's a consumer law that they're trying to base this off of. If a book is given to somebody and there's no exchange of money, well, then that's okay. But if somebody comes to a pastor and they say, "Hey, I'm having issues with gender identity, ideology, and I'm having issues because perhaps I'm married, and the purative sexual relations between a man and a wife within the confines of the marriage and the Bible, I'm having some difficulty with that. So if as a pastor now I say, hey, go to our church bookstore, we have a great book on this named whatever, I encourage you to purchase that and read it, and let's discuss some of the concepts in there within a biblical context. I can't do that now. I wouldn't be able to do that under this law, because now something is being sold that discusses how this is our biblical view of sexual intercourse.
Lonnie Poindexter was on the show last night, and one of the things, I'm to the point now where I'm starting to almost sound like a broken record. I said to him, every new day, every new week, every new month, every year, there are a series of continuing abrogations of our freedoms and liberties, and with each passing day, it proves once again that a book was written in 1946 by a British guy named Eric Arthur Blair, was completely prescient back then, George Orwell, and our lives are starting to they're starting to resemble 1984.
Yep.
What if we treat Bibles like guns? You can't have a certain amount of pages in your Bible. You can't give a Bible to a friend. You're going to have to, endure a background check before you can get a Bible, before we decide that we're going to completely proscribe these things. This is your future under California.
Yep.
And it's the future under California of persons who obey the law, because the people who couldn't give a crap less about the law are going to do what their job description indicates. They're going to continue to be lawbreakers. But people who pay taxes, who have a job, who obey the law, recognizing that this country is based but upon the rule of law itself, they're going to be the ones hurt. The normals are going to be the ones hurt. The people that are not normal, that are criminals, etc., whose job they feel is not to obey whatever comes out of the Bill Mill 2 miles away from us right now, even as we sit here.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to take an entire element of people who really want to do right, and you're going to make them potentially criminals? You're going to criminalize them? You're going to criminalize them with, essentially, what you're saying, the First Amendment. We're already in California trying to criminalize people who believe in the Second Amendment. Why the hell? Let's just go for broke. Why do you need free speech anyway?
We don't.
You don't. Why?
Because it brings nothing but trouble.
It does. It does.
Which brings us to our
nothing but trouble.
I mean, we can go a lot of different places with this.
Oh, there's a ton.
Do you want to stick with the California insanity and talk about the final California bill? We talked about a couple things that weren't even on there, but you want to talk about the cash bail?
We can start that now and have the break, and then continue that if you want to. So we can.
I mean, sticking with California, why not? And we have a lot of other stuff to get to, or we can get to it after the break, and I'll talk about a feel-good story real quick.
Do that.
So Donald Trump, being the Nazi that he is, according to the left, the far left, he, in order to prove he's not a Nazi, he did something. Oh man, it was so.
Oh God,
nefarious.
It has to be oppressive.
So nefarious.
It's got to be oppressive.
Oh, it's horrible.
Period. I know.
And I know he did it intentionally to mislead the people.
Oh, come on.
He deported a Nazi. Like an honest-to-God 95-year-old World War II, ran a labor camp in Poland, Nazi.
Oh, my God, you're right. That is oppressive and evil both at once, simultaneously.
Where the fuck is the left demanding that this 95-year-old man, I'm sure he's a grandfather,
I know,
ripped from his home. He became a United States citizen after World War II, and he lied about what he did coming over from Germany. And then in 2003, and it doesn't say how they found out he was a Nazi who ran a concentration camp in Poland. That was, by the way, that he had a major role in this one of the single most deadliest days at the concentration camp, where 6,000 Jewish individuals were killed in one day. That guy. 2003, it came out that that's who he was, and he admitted. Who was in power in 2003? It was Bush, right?
Bush.
Yeah. Thanks, Bush, you fucking jackass. He admitted to being a Nazi. Got his citizenship. Didn't get his citizenship. I don't know if he got his citizenship revoked. I think he did. In 2004, 2005, he lost his appeal, and nobody did a fucking thing with him. Because they said he wasn't a German citizen anymore. Where could we take him? And so Obama came to power. Obama, who hates Nazis.
Oh, he kicks Nazi butt every
Kicks
day.
Nazis out. He didn't do a fucking thing with him. The guy still lived here in the United States, in New York. Nothing. Donald Trump gets in office. He is a Nazi. He embraces them, loves Nazis. He's not going to do anything.
That's a given.
If anybody wouldn't do anything, it's Donald Trump. Nope. Donald Trump did something. ICE deported him to Germany. I forget the guy's name, but the ambassador to Germany, his confirmation hearing was held up forever. He actually negotiated with Germany to take him back. Germany was going to say, he's your problem, he's your citizen. We negotiated under the Trump administration, negotiated with Germany to take him back. We deported him. He's back in Germany. No idea what they're going to do with him. My guess is they'll try him for war crimes. They should.
Absolutely.
I don't care if he's 95.
No.
If he's responsible for the crimes that he's been alleged were him, and I guess admitted to, he became a citizen in 1957.
Let me throw this out here before we go to break, because we're again a little late for the break, about a minute, but that's no big deal, because after all, it's our show.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that any of that influence, or maybe some of those reactions, have something to do with the fact, and I'm honest when I posit this, has something to do with there are a certain number of people who are unfamiliar with war crimes, with what the Nazis did, and with Dachau, and with the Holocaust, that they may actually not know about that they are truly that ignorant. It's just a question.
I think the German people are still sensitive over the whole World War II thing.
Oh, I know for a fact they are. Merkel is. That's why I can guarantee you this today, that the guilt that she has from World War II is why she completely lacks the capacity to say no to illegals into Germany, which then flooded the rest of Europe, which will be the utter downfall of all of Europe. And you can pin it on the back of Angela Merkel, guaranteed, because she felt guilty about Germany's role in World War II. We got to take a break.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yeah. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for a good for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Wow, we're already into the second hour. Folks, you are listening to the Sackheads Against Tyranny, a real chat show. Live and direct here on the SHR Media Network. We are in the sumptuous and palatial, as you look around, SHR Media Studios. Change is in the air at SHR, and it's starting right here in the studio. So, welcome back. Sackhead's Clint, who is right over there. See, watch, follow my finger. He's right there.
Follow
That's
my finger.
Sackhead's Clint. And I were just talking on the break. Where do we want to go next? So, Sackhead's Clint, where do we want to go next?
So there was an article on Vox that came out, and Megan Day is her name, and I think the article came out on August 1st. And it's an article on democratic socialism explained by a democratic socialist. And here is the I don't want to say the crux of the article, and I don't know that I necessarily want to read it to you verbatim, but I think it's important enough to actually read verbatim. So,
and that's why I made a copy for you and for me, so that we know exactly what she's saying. I think it's important.
So it's very important. And she starts the article with some quotes. And again, the name of the article is Democratic Socialism Explained by a Democratic Socialist by Megan Day on Vox.com, 8/1 of 18. It says it's not just New Deal liberalism. And she writes this article, and it opens up with several quotes from MSNBC, from a Vox senior correspondent, from Glenn Beck, and Meghan McCain, where it's basically saying that it's petrifying to me that this is being normalized. That's Meghan McCain, and she talks about some other cautions and kind of soft pedaling of what a democratic socialist really is.
Well,
and
now, here's another interesting point, and I'd like to point this out if I could. Mm-hmm. You just specifically because get what I did there?
I did.
Because you just mentioned nudge, and the quote from Glenn Beck is nudgy. And he said, Democrat socialists will not be covered by the media as the radicals that they are. They'll be covered as innovative, millennial-friendly upstarts with fresh ideas.
When they're really diet communism. Yeah.
So those are fresh ideas. That nudge.
So this is, and now quoting the article here. So I'm quoting the article. She says, the phrase is intended. And by the way, just so you know who she is, well, she'll get into it here. So the phrase is indeed everywhere. In addition to Ocasio-Cortez, Senator Bernie Sanders, and now New York gubernatorial candidate Cynthia Nixon have claimed the label. Meanwhile, the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, the country's largest socialist group, is seeing its membership explode from 6,000 in summer 2016 to more than 45,000 today. And the media doesn't quite know what to make of it all. Now, this is really important. I'm a staff writer at the socialist magazine Jacobin and a member of DSA, and here's the truth. In the long run, democratic socialists want to end capitalism. And we want to do that by pursuing a reform agenda today in an effort to revive a politics focused on class hierarchy and inequality in the United States. The eventual goal is to transform the world to promote everyone's needs rather than to produce massive profits for a small handful of citizens. A couple important things here. Number one, she is a staff writer for the socialist magazine Jacobin.
Right.
Do you know what Jacobin is?
I'm hoping you'll tell me.
Jacobin was the group, or a club, because it sounds better, during the French Revolution.
Oh, then it will be
headed by which ended up the Ross Perot was.
It will be
not Ross Perot,
Jacobin.
Not Ross Perot, but Ross was the leader of that. And they were extremely they were extremely violent. They beheaded their political enemies. They were enforcers. They believed in the violent overthrow. They are the reason why the founding fathers, the same people that stood up to tyranny here in the United States, said, you fuckers are crazy, and fled from the French Revolution. That's the name of the magazine that she writes for. They do not believe in peace and love. That movement was an extremely violent movement.
Let's go back in history just a little bit, because I
went back to
this.
1780. What?
I know.
How far back do you
I'm
want to
go back to the 60s for right now.
Oh, that's not as far back as I went.
I know, but historically speaking, include the 60s, you have to ask yourself, if you're a scholar, if you're a student of history, on whose side has violence, organized violence, been all throughout history? And it's on the left. People will forget about the Baader-Meinhof group in Germany in the 1960s. They will forget about the RAF, the Red Army faction. They will forget about the Weather Underground. They will forget,
they'll make them professors.
They'll forget about the SDS, the Students for a Democratic Society. They'll forget about the SLA, the Symbionese Liberation Army. Coordinated violence has historically been on the left, not the right. Period. End of statement. So that this sources from that individual, and I think you're talking about Rousseau, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I called him Ross Perot.
Yeah,
because
Ross Perot.
It's better to me.
I know that. It's always been on the left and will continue to be on the left.
So she says, so that's the name of the magazine she writes for. So that should be a big fucking warning sign to you.
But all the bells and claxons.
She then says, we want to end capitalism. That should be a big fucking problem for you, because how do these organizations make money? Oh yeah, sales. That's called fucking capitalism, you jackass. And want to do that by pursuing the goal. The goal is to transform the world. This isn't transform the United States. This isn't transform California.
This is Borg.
This is transform the world.
You will be assimilated.
And this is not my words. This is her words. I am quoting.
We're looking at it right here.
Her article.
Right out of the article.
Now, continuing. Democratic socialists share goals with New Deal liberals, but they want to go farther.
Yeah.
Pooling society's resources to meet people's basic needs is a tenet of social democracy. We're a republic, folks. One that's been, that's my words, one that's been advocated domestically by much of the labor movement and many of its political supporters among New Deal and post-New Deal liberals. This is a vision we share, but we also want more than FDR did, a robust welfare state in an economy that's still organized around capitalist profits, can mitigate the worst inequalities for a while. But it's at best a temporary truce between bosses and workers, and one that the former will look to scrap as soon as they can. The mid-20th century in the United States featured many elements of social democracy, at least for the majority of white workers. Public education became readily available. Housing was heavily subsidized, and ordinary workers took home a greater share of income than ever before. But the rich moved quickly to throw all that out the window as soon as they could get away with it. Starting in the 1970s, when stagflation and the oil crisis presented pretexts for pro-capitalist policy that set the stage for a weakened welfare state under President Ronald Reagan. So wait a second here.
A weakened welfare state. That's bad.
So wait a second here. The rich threw all that out, the public education, housing heavily subsidized. Ordinary workers took home a greater share of income than ever before. But the rich, they wanted to throw that out. When? When shit collapsed under that system. Listen to the logic of her argument.
There is no logic.
She says that pro-capitalist policy set the stage under Ronald Reagan. When did they move to that? After shit went bad. She's admitting that in her own article here. What fixed it? What did we see under Ronald Reagan? We saw a great economy and massive growth, did we not?
We 3 words come to mind: trickle-down economics.
And so something was broken because we were starting to move in a direction that you obviously think is best. And so Ronald Reagan came in and fixed it, and that's bad. That's bad. If I recall, Ronald Reagan, didn't he had what the largest electoral victory since George Washington?
Yeah.
It was damn near unanimous.
Just about.
And that's bad? That's who these people are,
It's
folks.
bad because you need to get rid of the electoral system, because what leftists want is democracy.
Yeah, I'm talking about the fixing our economy.
Yes, I know.
Because you need to be global. We want to change the world. We don't want to just have America be great. We want to change the world.
Yes, and we don't want a debate, and we don't want any pushback.
So getting back, bosses and the politicians supporting them from both major parties attacked collective bargaining, tried to privatize anything that wasn't nailed to the floor, for instance, by passing laws that began the process of privatizing public housing in the 70s because they did that shit better than the government could, and steadily eroded the social safety net. As a result, a handful of bosses became wealthier and more powerful while wages stagnated and quality of life eroded for everyone else.
Stop just for a second.
Sure.
Public housing. Folks that are listening live, thank you for listening live. Folks that are in the chat room, thank you for being in the chat room. We do a great business in podcasting. That's where we do the bulk of our business. So folks that are listening right there, anyone listening to the sounds of our voices right now, can you show me, give me an indicator, provide for me evidence of a fine public housing series of units? I'll wait.
Go.
And show me any of them that aren't near a street that happens to be named Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. I'll wait. And show me the good, the wonderful living conditions instead of, I don't know, as opposed to squalor that you see in public housing groups. I'll wait for that answer as well. Sorry, I just had to interject.
Yeah, which is sad because Martin Luther King was
he was a great guy.
He was a great man.
But go to any major urban rat cage and you'll find that Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard is smack dab in the middle of squalor.
Yep. Okay. Continuing, as long as a handful of elite capitalists get to call the shots in the economy and society, the playing field will be tilted in their favor. They'll always be the ones who come out on top. Wow, man, this sounds like nobody has ever created wealth in the United States. Nobody has ever picked themselves up by their bootstraps.
Do you detect a bit of jealousy here from that?
A little bit.
A little bit?
A little bit.
It's time for not them to come out on top, but it's time for the people making this kind of an advocacy to come out on top. Well, how do you come out on top? Let's see. You come out on top with ownership. You come out on top with capitalism. You come out on top with wealth, with aggrandizement, with collectivity, with collecting property, money, savings, etc. Well, the deal is, doesn't it seem to me like they're just disappointed that they're not working sufficiently hard to acquire the things that ideally they want to?
Well, they want it, but they don't want you have it, so they want it.
That's right.
Give it to me. I want that. Give it to me.
Why? See, that's the damn Constitution getting in its own way. We provide you the opportunities, but there is no guarantee of an outcome in the United States, and that's what leftists, the Democrats, and the American media maggots want, is a guarantee of an outcome.
We
not just opportunity, that's not good enough.
Equal opportunity, not equal result.
No, that can't fly. I'm sorry, that can't fly.
Continuing here, many observers see groups like DSA pushing for policies like Medicare for All and decide that we must actually be something like New Deal liberals who are simply confused about the meaning of socialism. That is not true, she says. Our goal is not to rein in the excesses of capitalism for a few decades at a time.
Yet.
We want to end our society. No, we don't. We want to end it. We want to end our society's subservience to the market, is what she says. Quote, we want to end our society's subservience to the market. Right. Medicare for all is an instructive example. Winning single-payer health care in the U.S. would be an enormous relief to the millions of Americans who, even with insurance, find themselves stymied by claims denials and crushed by medical debt. Millions crushed by medical debt, apparently. Many progressives and an increasing number of centrist liberals, hell, even a few Trump voters, want the private insurance industry to be replaced by a single comprehensive public insurance program, one we all pay into with our taxes to relieve everyone of financial stress in times of illness. We want that too, she says. But we also know that Medicare for all is not socialism. It would only nationalize insurance, not the whole healthcare systems. Doctors would remain private employees. For example, though under some plans they would be required to restructure their businesses into nonprofit entities, Democratic Socialists ultimately want something more like the British National Health Service, in which everyone pays taxes to fund not just insurance, but doctors and hospitals and medicine as well. This would give us the opportunity to design a system that benefits every one of us, not a few pharmaceutical and hospital network executives. Does Great Britain have a problem with health care?
No, neither does Canada. That's why there are so many hospitals, medical wards, etc. on the U.S.-Canadian border on the U.S. side that are making tons of money from Canadians who want to come over and partake of our medical system. But stop. Wait. Aren't we having a doctor crisis right now? And the answer is yes. Why are doctors fleeing medicine? Because they don't care for all the delayed payments from
government.
Oh, that's right. The government, the U.S. government, that you want to run your entire life with clearly the efficacy of the DMV. What a brilliant idea. And wait, as far as that medical stuff, didn't we already try that after 2008? Wasn't that someone's passed in the dark of night experiment where it was completely unipartisan and not one Republican voted for it, and it just about tanked the entire economy? And the economy is coming back because now business can plan for the future. They had no idea under the ACA what was going to happen from week to week or year to year because that worked out so well.
Yep.
Imagine that.
And it wasn't. It never even got fully implemented.
No, it did not.
Imagine if it did.
It would have gotten worse.
Oh my God. So continuing, Medicare for all cannot be won with just a policy argument. So why are Democratic Socialists not demanding an NHS right now? Because we currently don't have the support to push for and win such an ambitious program. Social democratic reforms like Medicare for all are, in the eyes of DSA, part of the long, uneven process of building that support and eventually overthrowing capitalism.
Here's what you and I both said before we even got going on this article. You and I came to an immediate unanimous agreement. And this is one of the reasons that I appreciated Bernie Sanders. And to this day, I appreciate Bernie Sanders. He's one of the few Democrats, leftists, socialists, et cetera, except for AOC now, who will tell you to your face, I'm a socialist, and that's what I believe in. And if there's, you and I both agreed from the nature of this article, I value this Megan chick because at least she's got the cojones to say what essentially all the rest of the Democrats believe in, though they don't have the guts
far left ones
to tell you to your face. Oh, come on. Do you think there are more than a handful of liberal Democrats left that vote?
I don't think they understand. I think there are some like this lady here who understand. I think the overwhelming majority of them really do not understand what it is that they're asking for. I truly believe that.
How did we get to this place? Because
there is a fundamental lack of understanding of the United States Constitution.
There's a fundamental lack of education. I've said this for years.
There is.
Control two things and you have the United States and Western civilization by the balls, but mostly the United States. Control SCOTUS and control education, and you have it all. You will have everything in the U.S. Leftists have education. That's how we got to this point, by people making ill-fated decisions based not about... they have historical Alzheimer's, and I think that's purposeful because they're not taught critical thinking and they're not taught history. In fact, revisionist history is exactly what they want. Witness all the Confederate statues that are being pulled down. That was historical. That involves history. We can't even have a hint, we can't even have a smell of history anymore. We have to change it, and it must be revisionist. So that's how you get people like her who don't have an appreciation for the past and don't have an appreciation for humanity. They say they're humanists. They have no idea how humanity works. What happens, like I said, with the doctors, when you have doctors that don't want to be doctors anymore, that don't want to go through all the training, and they're going to be paid the same amount of money because in terms of equanimity, really, why should a doctor be paid any more money than someone that hauls your trash? And as far as they're concerned, there should be no difference. That doctor should want to, just by the goodness, the inherent nature of the goodness of his or her or Z's heart, that they should want to be helpers. And they shouldn't have a bigger car or a better car or a car at all. They shouldn't have any more than a mattress thrown on a back alley, just like everybody else. That's how they think.
So I want to fast forward through the article here to a couple key points, and then we can get to it. I know we'll get to a break, yeah?
Listen, hey, go through all of it. We got a ton of time. We still have another half hour.
Yeah, okay. I think the real meat and potatoes, because she kind of rambles on here for a little while. So she talks about eventually overthrowing capitalism. Her words.
Yeah, exactly.
Her words.
Yes.
Overthrowing capitalism.
Yep. Thank you for being honest.
Yeah.
She's honest. I appreciate that.
Yeah. We can have a conversation.
Yes, we can.
You know,
finally.
I think that's
she's wrong.
Pretty strong. Well, no, she wants to eventually overthrow capitalism. And given
she's
the fact,
wrong in her precepts.
Given the fact that
she's
using those terms and the title of the print magazine she's going for, that causes me a little concern. So continuing again, of course, even socializing a whole industry like medicine wouldn't automatically lead to the socializing of others. But through the process of the campaign, Democratic Socialists want to build into the popular consciousness an awareness that the market is not capable of meeting society's needs. This sets us up for other fights, whether something defensive, such as stopping school privatization, or something proactive, such as nationalizing energy companies.
Is California the poster child for that crap?
Yes. How many? Yes, there have been pushes in the state of California to stop charter schools, stop private schools,
stop energy. When did our energy grid collapse? Oh, that's right. When they decided that they were going to. Oh, PG&E was so oppressive, and California needed to coordinate all of that stuff. And the Cal ISO was born, which is in Folsom right now. So, under which years did we have? Brownouts. We never had a true blackout. I mean, It's hotter now.
It got a Democratic governor thrown out of office.
As a matter of fact, it did. Who was that, by the way?
Gray Davis.
There you go. They can't run. They can't.
And the worst part was, it was not Gray Davis's fault.
No, that was before.
But he got recalled.
And then right after Gray Davis came Arnold
Schwarzenegger. Yep. Which was weird because you had a Republican governor prior to Gray Davis. Duke Majan.
Duke Majan. I told you this. I had dinner with Duke Majan. He was a cool guy.
Continuing. So, sets up other fights. To win something as massive as an American NHS or even Medicare for All, it isn't enough to just win a policy argument. Democratic Socialists believe we need to build a mass movement that can pry health insurance provisions out of the hands of health insurance companies, put it in the hands of the public, to marshal the kinds of forces that can achieve such policy victories. We need to get working Americans comfortable thinking about class in a broader sense. Ooh, winning hearts and minds.
Of course.
We need to get working Americans comfortable thinking about class in a broader sense. Many proponents of Medicare for All aren't driven by any kind of ideology. They're simply sick of high deductibles and constant claims denial and ballooning medical debt, which is one of the top causes of personal bankruptcy in the U.S. Okay? But in fighting for Medicare for all, people will inevitably start asking basic questions like why corporations are allowed to get rich off of something that should be a basic human right.
Okay, you got to stop right there. What does a democratic socialist think is a basic human right?
Healthcare.
It's going to be healthcare, education,
housing.
It's going to be
everything that was
shelter.
in the Soviet Union Constitution.
Yep. And there will be no privatization. There will be food. You can't have farms. You can't have individually owned farms. Hey, speaking of individually owned farms, how cool is it that whites are being slaughtered in South Africa and their lands confiscated with no reparations whatsoever? Isn't that way cool? And the media is reporting nothing about it, to the point where South African is people that are thinking in South Africa are saying that, hey, when everybody takes over all these once white-owned farms from hundreds of acres because of, repression, etc., South Africa will have no food.
Are they being killed too?
Yes.
Is that not genocide?
No, we're talking about whites. Come on. We're talking about Caucasoids.
So, continue. Are we going to break, BZ, or are we just powering through?
Oh, you know what? We missed it, so screw it. Let's go.
Sounds good. Medicare for all might not be socialism, but at its core, it's a demand to take something out of the market. Taking something out of the market. Democratic socialists also believe there are some reforms that empower and embolden the working class to fight battles in other arenas. For example, right now unions spend a huge chunk of their time negotiating benefits for their members. Fighting for Medicare for all can teach Americans the value of uniting over the working class majority's interests. Winning Medicare for all would free up the labor movement to make more demands on employers, like greater democratic control on the job.
I know, we have a problem. But because of this problem, we need to figure out in what direction we'll go. Let's see, at this particular business, we have 90 employees. Let's ask 90 employees what their opinion of which direction we need to go, and you'll get 90 different representations, and we may make a decision if we rush it through committee in about 6 months.
But the employees need greater control on the job because they have all the same amount of information as the owner does, I'm sure.
Sure.
Right? The owner doesn't know what the hell's going on with his business. It's obviously all of the workers that have a better idea what's going on with his or her business or the direction the company needs to go.
Hey, this was a great quote in chat by Beantown Billy. He said, hey, central planning, you don't need toilet paper if you don't eat.
Good point. So continuing again, if health insurance were not yoked to employment, just imagine how much freer workers would be to demand safer working conditions and better pay. They're free. They're free to demand that now. Workers who are experiencing harassment or endangerment could press their bosses for concessions without fearing that losing their job automatically means becoming unable to afford life-sustaining prescription drugs, for example. This is why democratic socialists refer to Medicaid for all as a strike fund.
Maybe you might want to explain that, a strike fund.
So if you strike, you don't get paid.
Right.
You get your benefits suspended.
Yep.
Right? But if we have Medicare for all, you could tell your boss to go fuck him or herself, and you'll be just fine. It's a strike fund. We will pay for, because you don't need your job for your health care. You don't need your job for basic human necessities such as food and housing and health insurance, which means you can tell anybody you want to go screw themselves, and you'll still have your needs met.
Sure, of course. You will love this. I wish I could monitor chat more frequently, but this was great. Fred says he made a comment. Beantown Billy made a comment, and Fred said, "Billy, I really like you." And Beantown Billy said, "You mean like a priest?" I thought that was funny.
I think that's kind of gross.
I know. I thought it was funny.
So, continuing. It's a huge transfer of money and power from the capitalist class to the working class and will expand the opportunities for the latter to put up fights against corporate power down the line. Big reforms can dramatically change the political conversation. Today's democratic socialists don't see positive policy reforms as something we'll stack up until one day. Voila, we have socialism. As DSA member and New York State Senate candidate Julia Salazar told me in a recent interview for Jacobin, quote, there's no question that we have to expand and comprehensively fund the social safety net, but if we do not without altering the more basic structures that disempower people and keep them in wage slavery, we're never going to see long-term social change. What is that basic structure that in their mind disempowers people and keeps them in wage slavery? What's that pesky document? What is the most basic structure of our country and of our way of life?
She's
not talking about the Constitution, I'm sure.
No, but you have to realize that leftists, even when we call them foundational or fundamental documents, leftists completely disagree with that from the beginning, because you and I both believe in God, and the Constitution says that our powers and our rights are provided to us by God and not by government. God plays absolutely no role in the life of a leftist, an American media maggot, or these days most Democrats, and certainly Democratic socialists for that matter. So they want all powers held by government and only ceded to you grudgingly.
Well, that's because, look, if the government gives you something, that means then that the government can take it away. But if your right is natural, if you have a natural right, if we are endowed by our Creator, God, or whatever you consider to be God, your Creator, with certain unalienable rights, they cannot be taken away from you by man, then they are powerless to stop you.
I will never forget this. I used to be a great train aficionado. I used to get cab rides in the cabs of locomotives. I knew tons of engineers, and they are a heavily unionized industry. The railroads have been, historically speaking, because of the Central Pacific and the Union Pacific, they have been a paramilitary organization because they came on the cusp of the Civil War. So because of that, I will never forget this inscription that is, I can't remember the original quote, but I can distinctly remember what I saw and read in the cab of a Union Pacific locomotive. I will never forget that quote. A government big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take away everything you have.
Yep.
That's the exact quote. I remember it from the cab of that locomotive to this day.
You should Google that. I wonder where that came from.
And it's absolutely true.
It is. So we're almost done. That's why when Democratic Socialists choose reforms to rally behind, we favor battles with the potential to transform ordinary people's lives for the better and teach millions of people the value of uniting to fight the capitalist Goliaths currently in charge of our society. We know better than you. We're going to educate you as to our way.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. I have two more paragraphs.
Okay, because we need lots of jobs done, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many leftists are going to line up to go into a big loom and make socks?
All of them, because that's what people need.
Yeah. How many people are going to line up for the requisite training, education, and experience to become an actual effective doctor?
All of them, because that's their right.
How many people are going to slog in the mud with pigs?
All of them.
To make sure that they get taken care of, because America does need to be fed?
All of them. How many are going to scoop poop in San Francisco?
Right.
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them.
How many of them are going to learn how to repair automobiles?
All of them.
Or repair any of the electronic products that
anyone
you love
who
and
needs
use
to
today?
BZ, anyone who needs to.
How many people are going to line up to be in an environment where there's a row of 50 people who are inserting in a clean room in a suit small little electronic particles into small little circuit boards?
All of them,
with the skill requisite to do that, so that they can continue continue to have their iPhones and iPads and tablets.
You are not listening to me.
How many people are going to want to do that?
All of them,
how many people are going to want to climb up to the top of one of these great, lovely, generating big propeller-driven things to climb up 150 feet and change the light
and then
up
ride
there.
it. Look, they are willing to do whatever job that is assigned to them.
Right.
Whatever job is assigned to them, BZ.
You're right.
Thank you.
They should not have any input. It's just what's needed by society.
Correct. So, last two paragraphs. Continuing. Right now, we think demands for big reforms can dramatically change the political conversation, which means that socialist and robust, here's the key, which means that socialist and robust progressive agendas, she's separating the two here, including those of the most progressive Democrats, though this topic is up for debate among Democratic socialists.
Yeah, you're not yet with us.
So these two, socialist and robust progressives, continuing the quote, will likely overlap for a while.
Those are the critical three words, though, aren't they?
For a while. Maybe they'll diverge once some of these reforms are won and the political terrain starts to shift. Those of you who are Democrats, those of you who may be listening to this because you view us as the enemy and you hate what we say, but you listen to us to kind of try and wrap your head around what it is we're saying. I thank you for listening. Look, I'm glad to have a conversation with anybody. Open civil dialogue is sorely missed in this country today. But if you're a Democrat, even if you're a progressive Democrat, because folks, these socialists do not include you as one of them.
No,
they are not on your team.
Yes.
They are aligning with you for a little while. This is her words, not mine.
Yeah, but you are not their future.
You are not their future. You still represent, granted it's a different version of the American society that I think of, but you still represent a version of an American society that is unacceptable to them.
Let me be a little bit more specific if I can.
Sure.
What you are, folks, is you're a hindrance. You're a hindrance, and you're in their way. They'll tolerate you temporarily
to accomplish a couple things,
but eventually they're going to kick your ass and get you out of the way, and you're going to be like a Middle Eastern version of Islam. You're going to be Borg. You either assimilate or you'll be cast aside.
And look, the Jacobin in the French Revolution did just that.
You will be assimilated.
They killed their leader. So you should think long and hard about what it is that you are embracing right now on the far left.
Think long and hard about history, and that's the problem, because they have no concept of history.
Well, it's not only they don't, but I'm hoping that once they understand this, they need to understand what it is that they're embracing, what it is that they're quote unquote getting on board with, because for you Democrats out there, and even some of you progressive Democrats, those of you who are not Democratic socialists, because I know that I think a majority of the Democratic Party is not Democratic socialists, particularly as defined by this article. There certainly are some, and there are places of overlap for progressives, but I don't think they are Democratic socialists, and the Democratic socialists here is even saying that. But I would be more inclined, if I were you, to vote for the Republican than the Democratic socialist, because it is clear that the Republican has a view that is closer to what you believe America should be than the Democratic socialist. Has a Republican ever said that when we're done with you, we're gonna overlap for a while and then we'll basically cast you to the side? So let me wrap up her article here and say, quote, continuing, but until then, so once maybe they'll diverge once some of these reforms are won and the political train starts to shift. So again, continuing, but until then, we'll be in the trenches fighting for what Ocasio-Cortez called the, quote, minimum elements necessary to lead a dignified American life, end quote. And along the way, we'll also be articulating a vision for society beyond capitalism, where each person's life is truly theirs to live, not to spend toiling for a dime while the boss takes $1. That's interesting. Where each person's life is truly theirs to live. Sounds good. Your life is truly yours to live, but the collective needs that light changed at the top of the frickin' windmill that's providing power. So go do that. That's your job.
I don't want to.
I don't want that job. Well, your life is truly yours, but you're going to do that for the greater good.
I don't want to. I want my free home.
Well, then,
I want my shelter. I want my iPad. I want to be able to go to the corner Starbucks.
Well, then maybe the Jacobin are going to live up to their roots, and that might not be a problem for long for them.
What's to our south right now?
Mexico.
And?
Central America.
And?
South America.
And?
The equator.
Venezuela. What's occurring in Venezuela?
They can't even provide clean drinking water.
They can't provide a thing. Well, that's a socialist country. And I go back to the standard phrase, I suppose, where every dictator, because who's in favor of socialism? Dictators. Does Megan perhaps have a little bit of dictatorial self-promotion envisioned in her own brain housing group? Because someone sooner or later, just like Animal Farm, is going to have to be the collector, the organizer, the assembler. And remember, all animals are equal, except some animals are more equal than others. Did you think that Maduro was as equal as everyone else that happened to be in the entire nation of Venezuela? Do you think he looked upon himself in that fashion? He was no better than anyone else.
And yeah, obviously that's not true. But Megan is Megan, does she have greater aspirations of power, or is she a true believer?
I think both. I think she has, in fact, consumed the Kool-Aid. And see,
the sugar-free Kool-Aid.
Yes, the sugar-free Kool-Aid, because you can't have
sugar because
right.
It's bad.
It's California, after all. We just told you about that. Clint just told you about that. By the way, is that water that you're drinking right now? That better not be a sugary drink. Not in here. Not in California.
It is. It's vitamin water. Is there sugar in here? Let me read. Ingredient: reverse osmosis water. I'm drinking that right now. It's awesome.
I don't know. We might
cane sugar. It's sugar.
See?
But it's cane. It's natural, right?
No,
Okay.
No.
Okay. So I have a story. No.
Do you really have a story?
I do. I just thought of one.
Okay.
I just thought of one, and the cane sugar made me think it because cane sugar is so much better for you than other sugar, and the ridiculousness it made me think of this story. So no shit. There I was walking down the street. And this is California, right? So. Somebody decides to light up a marijuana cigarette. And me being the smart ass I am.
No.
Right? I say, man, you're just going to light that up? Like right here and like in front of everybody? And he's like, well, yeah, man, like it's legal now. And I go, would you light up a cigarette like right in front of everybody? He goes, no, man, that's gross. I go, does it strike you as odd that the state of so I tried having a logical conversation with this guy, and I fried his 3 brain cells. I said, does it strike you as odd that the state of California does everything they can to prevent people from smoking? There's billboards ads. There's a state agency dedicated to this. They tax the shit out of your cigarettes. They don't allow it anywhere, and yet they promote you smoking marijuana? No shit, this is what he says to me. Well, marijuana is natural. I said, what's tobacco?
Zart.
I said, it's a fucking plant. And then I got applause from like 2 people behind me who also weren't happy that this jackass was lighting up, and he freaking walked away.
Wouldn't you? I would love to have had that on video. Trust me, 10 minutes after you put that video on YouTube or Periscope or something like that, 10 minutes after that happened, your video would have gone viral for 1 million hits, guaranteed. You'd be watching that video, and some major, like MSNBC or somebody like that, and today this video from Clint. And that video got 100,000 hits in 5 minutes.
And
it's true.
And 2 million hates in California, but everybody else loved it.
Are we not living in insane times?
We are. Look, so I know we only have a few minutes left, but I think a couple things very important. Molly Tibbetts was found deceased, and the suspect is, lo and behold, an illegal immigrant, a criminal alien from Mexico.
The guy is.
You don't read about that anywhere.
No,
Fox News put it up.
I'm looking at one of their articles right here. He's 24 years old, Christian Rivera. The funny thing is that everyone wants the government to be the all-powerful government, but let's stand back just for a second. This all-powerful government, in order to avoid this, does not make E-Verify mandatory.
Right.
So if you don't make it mandatory...
Although his employer used it.
What happened is this. His employer used the Social Security system because this guy's been employed for, I've seen, anywhere from 4 to 7 years by this company. 4 to 7 years ago, E-Verify didn't exist, so they went through the Social Security system. In other words, their intent was to do good and to comply with the law and make sure that they didn't have people who were illegal there. Now it turns out that the Social Security system was gamed by this guy. That's not who he particularly was, and E-Verify only came into the effect after the person who's essentially is a family member doing their HR stuff for him, and E-Verify came in, and there's no mandatory nature to E-Verify. Mm-hmm. They were still attempting to use these things, but it's these systems exist to be gamed. It's garbage in, garbage out. That's why you can't verify Abin al-Mohammed Abin from Somalia or from Syria, and we need to get these people into the United States. It's the United States Air Force, by the way, that screwed up, that let that Texas church shooter come in because his discharge, his dishonorable discharge, and the assaults and the violence that he had while he was in the Air Force, none of that information was input into the system so that he would have been proscribed from purchasing a gun. So the gun that he purchased was legal, but it's garbage in, garbage out. And it's the same for this system. The U.S. government is every bit as responsible for the killing of Molly Tibbetts and Kate Steinle as anyone else. By the way, let us not forget that in California, it was the jury that decided, the guy whose name does not even warrant being mentioned here, who picked up a gun on a wharf in San Francisco and ended up killing Kate Steinle, who died in her father's arms saying, "Dad, what happened?" And he's found not guilty by a California jury. California is the poster child of everything that you should never do with a state. Mm-hmm. And it keeps getting worse and more deleterious day by day, week by week, just by all the things. We discussed this on the break, Clint. I learned 2 new things from you today about the state of California that I haven't even heard. And so I put those out on Twitter because people need to know what's going on in California.
Yes.
We are the poster child of what not to do, or on the other hand, of what to do if you want to screw up your state. To which I've said, you don't spend your money in California. Don't come here. Don't visit. It's a disgusting state. It is beautiful in a way, but it's got a policy and a system that demands that there is no preventive maintenance for wildfires. These wildfires are taking off here in California because they cannot manage their forests. And they cannot manage their forests because environmentalists say that you cannot do that. You cannot log dead trees. You cannot make an obscene profit for a timber industry that could still harvest the wood that's still good in some dead trees. You can't remove the deadfall because it would disturb critters. So in the meantime, let's burn up a good portion of the state of California. Let's spend millions of dollars of overtime. Let's kill people. Let's completely raze their property. And oh yes, while we're at it, let's take all of that burning smoke into the air and let it infest all sorts of other states and reduce. Hey, it's time for California to share the wealth. Our air quality is fucked up. There's no reason we shouldn't fuck up your neighboring state's air quality as well.
I have a better one. I think these neighboring states that are affected by our poor air quality should sue the fucking state of California for violation of environmental fucking regulations.
Why not?
Right?
That's a perfect. That's thinking. That's why you're sackheads, Clint.
Your policies contributed to. You fucking environmentalists just contributed an ass ton of freaking pollution into the air.
Who put all the CO2 into the air?
Good job.
All you environmentalists. Yep. Oh, you're so damn effective.
So, look, one more thing I want. Manafort and Cohen. We've got 4 minutes.
Paul Manafort was found guilty 8 of 18. 8 of 18.
Hung on 10.
Hung on 10 or 11.
Any blowback.
And he's going to, he still has a second trial. He could spend, he could do 300 years behind behind things that people do every day
Trump pardons
in
him.
D.C.
Unless Trump pardons him.
Yeah.
What about Cohen, the Cohen plea? Is Trump in trouble?
There are so many places that my mind is going right now, and it depends. Let me see if I have, I think I had an audio cut. Or maybe darn it, I don't. I had it on.
It's all right. Is Trump in trouble? You think Trump's in trouble?
Potentially. Truly, no. But it like anything else in the prevailing prairie winds of politics, it depends on how assiduously effective the left are in crafting the narrative. They will craft the narrative if the Republicans don't push back. Do the Republicans have the spine to face down the people on the left and the Democrats and the American media maggots? I think that's the biggest question of all.
So I think even if the House goes blue and Pelosi gets the gavel, or whoever gets the gavel, I think that they may try and impeach. I think if they do impeach, I think Republicans maintain control of the Senate. I think there's no conviction. Justice Department's own guidelines prohibit do not allow for the indictment of a sitting United States president. That being said, can Trump pardon himself? Nothing in the Constitution says he can't.
True.
If he is a one-term president, if he loses re-election, I say he pardons Manafort and Cohen, depending how much they do or do not cooperate with the Mueller investigation, maybe even himself, because he will have a last day in office at some point, either 4 years or if he gets impeached or resigns, or 8 years, whatever the case may be. If he gets reelected, then at the very beginning of his next term, because he doesn't have to face another reelection, he could go ahead and pardon these individuals as well. Is it potentially troublesome? It is. I think there's some issues with the Cohen case. Number one is attorney-client privilege comes to mind. How is it not a violation of the Sixth Amendment for a government entity to go through attorneys' files, which are attorney-client confidential and privileged, and determine what is privileged and what is not? How does that not make sense to anybody else?
I've heard opinions, however, that Lanny Davis, who is his attorney of note, a number of other attorneys, including Jay Sekulow and other people, have said that he pled his client out when he didn't have to. He did not have to. So I think we only got about a minute or so before the end of it. Is a couple of if-then equations. If we lose, we will not lose the Senate. We may or may not lose the House. If we lose the House, and I really don't think we will. I think it'll be a squeaker again, but I don't think we will. But if we lose the House, I think the blowback to anything that the House does against Trump will be so severe that in the next 2 years, they're going to pay a much larger penalty then that they will now. Historically says that the opposing team usually gets in right after an election in an off year, and that's how the House customarily goes, so it should be no shock if we lose. It's not a big guarantee, but I suspect it's such that 2 years after, 2 years following, if the Democrats, and you know they will, perform in the same way that we anticipate they will. It will be all impeachment, radio and TV, 24/7. The blowback will be such that there will be a penalty to pay.
It will, and I agree with you. And here's the deal, right? Senate does not vote to convict. I don't think they would, unless something comes out. Senate doesn't vote to convict, and Senate confirms Supreme Court justices. So, hey, have at it. Have fun in the House, Nancy.
Yeah. Well, that's another.
And good luck in 2 years. But, sir, it was a pleasure.
No. It was. Wait a minute. Why did I say no? The answer should be yes.
Yes, it was a pleasure.
The answer is yes. It was a pleasure.
It was an outstanding. But I have a plane to catch in 6 hours.
Can you tell me where you're going?
North Carolina.
Really?
I am.
Pleasure or business?
Pleasure.
Good for you. You know what you may see, and you're going to have to prepare yourself for this.
Free America?
Maybe.
Freedom.
But moreover, this weird thing called rain. Huh? Folks, this has been the Sackheads Against Tyranny. You've been listening to Sackheads Clint and Sackheads BZ. It's Wednesday, 8/22, the year of our Lord 2018. Thanks for listening. Tomorrow night, the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show with author Terrence McCauley. Be there. Aloha. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being in podcast. Thanks for being in the chat room. Good night.
Good night.